So this video is for veterans of the United States Armed Forces who are interested in business ownership and competing for government contracts. If you served in the Army, Navy, Air Force, or the Marines, hoorah, then this video is for you. My name is Troy Small. I'm a government contracting consultant with Skyway Acquisition, and in today's video, I am going to discuss 4 ways to qualify for the Small Business Administration's SDVOSB Program. Okay, so to qualify for the Disabled Veterans Business Program, your business must first be considered a small business. Now, this is based on the NAICS code of the acquisition, meaning every government contract procurement is assigned a NAICS code to that procurement. The importance of that NAICS code is the fact that they're going to use that to determine whether a responding company is large or small. So in other words, the size standard is based on the NAICS code. Now, if you are a company that sells commodities or supplies, then the size standard will be based on the number of employees. For example, 250 employees or less is considered a small business. 500 employees or less is considered a small business. There are some NAICS codes where the size standard is 1,000 employees or less is considered a small business. To the contrary, service contractors, or if you are selling a service to the government, then your NAICS code will be measured in revenue, right? So it will be measured in annual revenue in the millions of dollars, right? So that's a very key distinction and a very important fact to pay attention to when you're responding to government contracts, in that, you know, the NAICS code is very important. I mean, to the point where sometimes folks do, protests to the NAICS codes and the size standard or what have you, right? The reason why is because if, you know, you felt like the government assigned an improper NAICS code and it made someone else a small business, or it made you a large business, or vice versa, that may be a legitimate argument, right? To the point where if it was an improper NAICS code, it needs to be the proper NAICS code. And the reason why is because it definitely could affect the competition. All right. So the second qualification is that your company must be 51% owned and controlled by one or more service disabled veterans. So that just means that, for instance, if you're in a partnership, then the preponderance or the majority or the quorum of the partnership needs to be 51%, or basically needs to be composed of service disabled veterans. If that's the case, then, you know, you will be considered an SDVOSB. Now, there are some other things that you need to take in consideration, like voting, stock, whether your company is owned by another company or another entities that may or may not be service disabled veteran owned small business owned entities. So if you have those types of, you know, extra type stuff, you definitely want to look at how that ownership of those other entities are, and as it relates to your company, because it could affect your ability to say and qualify for an SDVOSB. So, you know, just take that point and definitely look into that. Particularly if you have wealthy ownership and, you know, they own a lot of other companies, and, you know, those companies are large businesses, but they have a stake in your company. It's a high stake. Then they may render your ability to say that you're a service disabled veteran owned small business nil. That you may not be able to do that by virtue of their ownership of other companies and their association and affiliation with your proposed SDVOSB. So the third qualification is your company must have one or more service disabled veterans manage day-to-day operations and also make long-term decisions. So basically, this is like running the business daily, weekly, monthly. The theory, the concept is that you're working the business 8 hours a day at a minimum, and that, you know, you're heavily involved in the day-to-day and the decision making, and also for the long-term decision making in the sense of holding corporate meetings, dealing with shareholders information, dealing with making future decisions for the company that affect the long-term health of the company and also the employees, if there are employees involved, and things like that. And the fourth and final qualification to be an SDVOSB is that eligible veterans must have a service-connected disability. So a service-disabled veteran is a veteran that has gone through the evaluation process and they have a rating assigned to them from the VA. So a veteran could get a 0 rating or even up to 100% rating. So here's a foot stomper here is that, for instance, like if you are a veteran on small business and you're not a service disabled veteran on small business, well, there's no, I mean, the SDVOSB is the one that has the set aside program, not the VOSB in the case for Small Business Administration. So, but if you feel like maybe you could be an SDVOSB and you want to take advantage of the set aside program here, then you may, and you haven't gone through the rating process, you may want to look into and do some research to see if maybe if you have some injuries or some illnesses, if you should get those looked at and have those evaluated by the VA. Because if that happens and you do that and you actually receive a rating letter, even if it comes back at a 0 rating, which is considered a non-compensable rating, meaning you can't get paid for it, it means that the VA recognizes that you have a disability or illness, but it is not at the severity that it rates for you to be paid monetary payments. At that point, you would get a 0 rating. That means you are a service-disabled veteran because you have had a decision placed upon you by the VA based on your disability and or illnesses. So I would suggest that you do some research on that, because you want to get the maximum. In this regard, the SDVOSB certification would be very, very valuable, because once again, it limits competition. And that's really what this is all about, is that by participating in this program that the Small Business Administration has put in place to our advantage as service-disabled veterans, we should take advantage of them. But the reason why we should do that is because it's limiting the competition to just service-disabled veterans. And when you do that, it gives us a higher chance, a percentage chance of winning a contract. There's less playing field. Instead of 12 teams, there's only 3 teams playing. One of us being you, me, and someone else, as an example, right? All right, guys. So I hope this video helped. Hope everyone's having a great week. Today's Friday. Have an awesome weekend, and I'll see you on the next video.